Have you ever wondered if being the quietest person in the room was actually a superpower? Well, today, we're diving into the psychology of silence. And let me tell you, it's often a sign of an incredibly powerful mind.
And this single idea, it changes absolutely everything. You see, what society so often writes off as a social flaw is actually, according to psychology, a powerful signal. It's not about being weak. It's about having a much deeper, more complex way of processing the world around you.
So here's the big switch in thinking we need to make. On one hand, you've got the common labels, shy, disconnected, maybe even weak. But on the other hand, psychology shows us what's really going on. Observational power, cognitive restraint, and a very, very real kind of strength. Let's break down what that actually looks like. Okay, let's start with our first pillar. This is a concept that explains why some of us just naturally filter out all the noise. It's called cognitive restraint. Does this sound familiar? You instinctively shy away from constant chatter or, that really meaningless small talk. To other people, it can totally look like you're being standoffish or just aren't interested. But what's really happening inside your head is something far more strategic. Psychologists have a term for this: cognitive restraint. And get this, it's not about an inability to join in. It's a strategic decision your brain makes, almost on autopilot, to save its energy by tuning out all that low-value chatter. Think of it like an efficiency setting for your brain. It's constantly working to cut through the static, to save that precious mental bandwidth for the thoughts and observations that actually matter. And that is the key takeaway for this pillar. What looks like avoidance on the outside is actually selective processing on the inside. It is not a weakness. It is a powerful strength that lets you focus on what's deep, not what's distracting. All right, let's move on to our second pillar, which really explains what's going on while you're being so quiet. This is all about observational power. Just picture it. You're in a big meeting, or maybe at a party. You're totally comfortable just listening, just taking everything in. But what do other people assume? That you're bored, you're uninterested, or you're completely checked out. But here's the secret. Your quietness is actually fueling something called observational power. It's this incredible ability to see what everyone else is missing, mostly because they're way too busy thinking about what they're going to say next. So while everyone else is just listening to the words, your brain is actively scanning and tracking the data that tells the real story, the subtle shifts in body language, the hidden social patterns, and all those intentions that are never actually spoken out loud. So in those moments, you are not disengaged, far from it. You are often the most engaged person in the entire room. But all that processing is happening internally. You're just taking in so much more data than you're putting out. And that brings us to our third and honestly most strategic pillar. This is where your silence stops being passive and becomes an active tool. It's called the detachment response. Imagine you're in a really tense negotiation or a difficult conversation, and you just pause. You don't rush to fill the silence. Now, the common misread here is that you're being passive, that you're unsure of yourself, or that you've basically just given up. But what you're actually doing is deploying the detachment response. Your silence isn't empty space. It's a tool. It creates a kind of social vacuum. And if there's one thing human nature absolutely cannot stand, it's a vacuum. The way it works is so simple but so effective. First, your silence creates that void. And second, the other person feels this almost primal need to fill it. And they often do it by oversharing information, revealing their real intentions, or admitting anxieties they never meant to. So this is where your silence becomes a seriously strategic asset. It is not passive. It's an active, even elegant way of getting to the truth of a situation without ever having to raise your voice. So let's pull all of this together now. If you've ever felt strange or broken or just completely out of place for being the quiet one, I really want you to hear this. You're not. It just means your mind runs on a different operating system. It's one that values depth and awareness and accuracy way more than it values noise and social performance. And the most freeing thing about all of this is that once you understand that this is just how your brain is wired, you can finally stop feeling lost. You can stop feeling like you're someone who needs to be fixed. And that's when you start to realize something really, really important. You were never behind. You were just operating on a different level the entire time. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, well, there's a reason for that. You're recognizing a powerful cognitive pattern in yourself. And honestly, this is just one of many that most people misunderstand. And our next explainer, we're going to dig into another one that most people never ever notice.
Because that's what we do here. We decode the hidden patterns that really shape our world. We'll see you in the next one.